Today we're going to be looking at how Man United could utilise Jadon Sancho. Of course, if you are new around here, please hit that subscribe button. Of course, check out SofaScore. That's where we get all the heat maps from. Anyway, let's dive in. Sancho has started 2 games, made 6 appearances, averaging 39 minutes per appearance. In terms of the statistics, 0 goals, 0 assists so far, having 31 touches per game. And obviously the per game stats are massively kind of pulled in a sense here. You would probably prefer it to be a per 90 record to really see what Jadon Sancho is doing on a Premier League level. I thought Jadon Sancho was really good off the bench against Everton. I thought he provided the classic Jadon Sancho, receiving the ball, looking dangerous, carrying well, having his head up at all moments, and he linked quite well with Cristiano Ronaldo. But in terms of getting the best out of Jadon Sancho, let's jump over to England, because I think England in one of the recent World Cup qualifying games provided some really good sort of learnings maybe for how to utilise and get the best out of Jadon Sancho. Sancho, of course, is a player that likes to create, he likes to score. He's very much kind of that the last line type guy that can receive in certain areas, but make things happen in the final third. And I think the big thing for England, obviously setting up 4-2-3-1, similar to Manchester United, but England's kind of reaction in certain parts of their setup was really interesting. Very fluid and flexible with England at times. We had Jesse Lingard, Phil Foden at number 10, Saka and Sancho holding the width. Then they'd have one of the fullbacks would come in. It was actually Kieran Trippier who started for England against Andorra. And they'd move into the central areas, or alternatively, they'd sit deep. And it was kind of a really fluid setup, obviously, with Sancho or Foden dropping in, shall I say, creating a very much a two-man structure in these zones. But I think the big thing for Man United to maybe take from this is kind of the use of the width of the pitch and the height of the pitch. One of the big things that Jadon Sancho was doing really well was he was starting very, very wide, but also starting really, really high in all moments of the game, which meant for England, when they were looking to kind of progress the football, be it from let's say from central midfield with Phil Foden, there was always an option for Phil Foden to go long to Sancho or just go wide to Sancho, which allowed England to play through the thirds. One of the big things that we've seen with Man United at times are very, very slow to play through the thirds. And having the setup where Sancho is really high and really wide could really help Man United. And the big thing with the performance against Andorra, Sancho came away with 2 assists, but arguably could have had 5 assists. Let's take a look at his numbers quickly from that England game. Absolutely superb performance from Jadon Sancho. But the first thing that we've got to kind of take into consideration here is kind of how high that heat map is. That is really high and really wide. We know in the modern day, if you're going to play wingers versus inside forwards, they need to stay high. They need to stay wide. They need to basically attract the opposition into those wide areas. Then you can look to hit a switch. Then you're looking to get behind the opposition. I feel like that's something that Man United may need to utilise more. It's creating the width on the pitch, but then filling up those inside channels with players as well. Jadon Sancho against Andorra, absolutely sensational. 2 assists in the game, completed 5 out of his 3 dribbles, created 4 chances, 3 out of his 4 crosses, hitting its target. And I think the big thing from a tactical level, it's definitely looking at, an improvement of what's happening at Manchester United in terms of, utilisation of a player, and kind of that passing from Phil Foden was a key theme throughout the game. So obviously for Manchester United, looking at, utilising that really, really aggressive heat map, getting someone in defensive midfield that's going to hit these switches of play and hit them flat and hit them quick, because that's going to allow players like Jadon Sancho to really, be able to spin in behind the defence, look up and then get the ball into the box. Jadon Sancho, in terms of his assists, 1 came from a really good final third motion of Phil Foden being high up the pitch. Sancho and Chilwell made the spin in behind the defence. But what I liked about Sancho in this move, as soon as he'd span in, he got his head up. So basically entered that, ball goes over the top from Phil Foden. Sancho's in the penalty area, head up, and then he's looking for that pass for Ben Chilwell to finish it off. I like the awareness of Jadon Sancho. That's something he's always got. So that's something that United need to take into consideration. If they are, the movement in behind the defence with Jadon Sancho is always quite good from these high and wide starting positions. We move forward. The two other big chances Jadon Sancho created, again, came from moves where, either Phil Foden had played Sancho in behind, left-footed cross for Tammy Abraham, who probably should have scored. And there was another moment, there was a big switch of play. Sancho facing up two players, working basically a little bit of a shift back onto that left foot and crossing, and Tammy should have scored again. But I do like his second assist again was kind of that variation. So we're talking left-footed cross already. We've spoken about a little bit of a drop back crossing with the right foot. We spoke about the movements in behind the defence and that little sort of like playback to Ben Chilwell to set it up. But also in terms of him crossing from deep, I think we've all seen the ball that for the second assist, really good whip ball into the box for Abraham to attack. That is something that Cristiano Ronaldo could really, eat up. But just going back to the kind of the tactical side of England's use of Jadon Sancho and that high and wide usage, only really works when you've got bodies around the ball. And we take a look at England's kind of average positions and how well they were kind of versed from a positional sense. You got Sancho really high and wide, that number 11 for England. Arguably, he's got the highest average position of players that have touched the football, showing how important he was in the final third. But also the kind of the use of Lingard and Phil Foden was good as kind of 2 3/8s at times. The inverted fullbacks in there as well. All ideas that Man United could use. Starting Paul Pogba deep, allowing him to get into the final third, sole holder, all those types of things to kind of utilise Jadon Sancho in a different regard. So obviously United could mirror that kind of setup for England, 4-2-3-1. Nemanja Matic playing as the holding midfielder in the team, utilising where obviously James Ward-Prowse was playing. And I think the big thing with Jadon Sancho, be it playing on the left-hand side or playing on the right-hand side, is creating that width and allowing him to stay high and wide. And I'd argue as well with the right midfielder, be it Jadon Sancho playing out there, Rashford or Greenwood, them staying high and wide as well, to allow Man United to utilise the advancement of Paul Pogba as more of a box-to-box midfielder. We saw Phil Foden played really well from that central midfield position for England. One of the big things was connecting Jadon Sancho, looking for Sancho over the top, but not playing too early over the top. And I think that's it. It's kind of having the patience to, if United are going to play that pass out there, utilise that play to pull the opponents over. Maybe have if the link-up can be with Bruno Fernandes, with Cristiano Ronaldo, but then Pogba coming again, receiving again, and then using that switch of play. And I think that is a big thing that Jadon Sancho as a higher position can utilise. It's stretching the opposition, it's moving them to the left, it's moving to the right, and then it's looking inside. Then it's utilising the inside ball and getting into those areas. But Paul Pogba in that advanced area as well, kind of important for it. I think the other thing that I liked about Jadon Sancho was kind of when United do get to the final third at times, they do look restricted, but Sancho's movement off the ball was very good, wide in behind, but also central in behind, but starting from that wide position, and the big thing that we know from Jadon Sancho is ability on the ball. If you get Jadon Sancho the ball enough, there will be moments where it'll beat 2-3 players and then get the ball across. And that's something that United need to help him out with, in a sense, in connecting players near him and having the likes of Bruno Fernandes drifting to that left-hand side, playing Pogba as a right central midfielder and Matic as that deep line playmaker against these weaker opponents really needs to start to happen. But that connection with those two needs to happen, but also with Cristiano Ronaldo. So a really good bit of play from Jadon Sancho and Ronaldo in that game against Everton. Sancho cutting in from the left-hand side and then feeding Ronaldo in behind with that left-footed shot. Really good moment. But the one thing that I'd say there is I'd like to see, for example, Bruno Fernandes being in a closer position to Sancho as an option inside. Ronaldo's going to make that move on the last line, but where's that connectivity? That's a big thing for United. Sancho high and wide, but very much players in and around him will get the best out of Jadon Sancho. Thanks for watching, guys. If you are new around here, please hit that subscribe button. Of course, get into the comments below. How should United utilise Jadon Sancho best? I've been Statman Dave on Statman Dave Clips. Of course, check out SofaScore, link in the description below to check out all those wonderful heat maps. Anyway, we'll see you later.